Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of my team selection. This is Pras, and this is the FPL Wire. We're in Gameweek 36, just 3 weeks left, and so a lot of what I'll say will be rank goal dependent on what you want to achieve in the next 3 weeks. Some of us are, happy with our rank, happy where we are. So it's a little bit of, play sensibly, don't take hits, don't do anything stupid, and don't lose your points. Especially those of you, like in the 7, 8, 9, 10K. If that's your rank goal, or those of you who are leading your mini leagues by, say, 10, 20 points, it's that time where you need to be sensible and not get FOMO. Those of other ones that want to chase, whether that's a rank goal, whether that's 10K, 100K, 500K, whatever, or you're, second, third, fourth in your mini league, then it's time to have a little bit of fun and, you don't mind to basically increase the distribution of outcome, which basically means that you should be prepared to either, fall behind a lot more or take a smaller chance of basically catching up. So that will be the theme of today. Of course, I'll talk about my team selection as the main thing. So first, talking about last week. I mean, it was a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, it's a green arrow, so I can't complain. I had talked about Marmoush as my captaincy pick. I was trying to basically not go with the popular pick, which was Mbuma. I knew Mbuma would be the popular captain, and I thought, you know what, just let's chance it. And in the end, I actually feel quite lucky that Mbuma didn't get more points against Man United. Brentford scored 4 goals, and Marmoush actually did nothing. So it's one of those things where you come out saying, actually, I got the captaincy wrong. I actually think that I tried to go different, and this is the risk, right? I mean, we keep talking about let's go Maverick, let's go differential. It actually sometimes works, like had I gone De Bruyne, or it sometimes doesn't work, like in this case I've gone Marmoush. So De Bruyne was never in my thinking. It was between the two. It was Marmoush or Bumo. So no, don't mind that too much. But the fact that I did own De Bruyne, who's 27% owned, you see that little bar underneath in green that tells you the top 10K EO, effective ownership. And so De Bruyne being 27% was the big gain, and Konza being 21%. So those two, when they returned, pretty much I think the green arrow was confirmed. The only people that could have, well, there were 4 spies. You can see the spies here in the team. There's Salah, there's Mbumo, there is Isak, and who was the 4th spy? I forget now. I guess that was it, the 3. And then, of course, Guardiola doesn't change your rank much. An Arsenal clean sheet doesn't change your rank much. So that's where we were. Crystal Palace game, I think the last one, I had high hopes again. I had benched Sar. I feel quite lucky actually benching Sar, because Sar missed that one-on-one chance. Eze hit the crossbar, so I could have been at the wrong end of that one as well. Even though Eze did get the points, it could have been a lot worse. So ultimately, it's a green arrow, 52 points. We move forward. I am now, you can see in this table top right, a little bit lost. Like top 1K is 23 points away. I had thought it was 16 when I was spotting, but it's actually 23 points away. And top 10K is 33 points I'm safe from. So unless something goes very, very horribly wrong, it seems like top 10K is done. Hopefully top 5K, and that remains the goal. Actually, the goal is 4.2K, which is my highest rank. And I've got there you go, at the bottom right, actually 2018, 2019, I got the 4.2K. Since I've done another top 5K, but I would like a third top 5K, and ideally under 4.2K. So that will be the goal, but it's not going to change. I'm not going to change sort of some of the decisions. The team is really done. You can only make 3 now impactful changes, 4 if you guys are feeling a hit, but that's where we are. And I think another macro point I wanted to raise is not only now we have no more doubles or blanks, we actually don't have a lot of chips in the game left as well. So if you look at the chip usage in the top 10K, pretty much 99% people have used the wildcard. 97% people have used the triple captain. I know my pod partners off and LR have the triple captain left, but not many in the top 10K actually have it left, 7%. Free hit, just a couple of percent of people, or 1% people have their free hit left. Bench boost is interesting. There's about 20% of bench boosters left. But then when it's a single game bench boost, you're basically looking at maybe 10 to 15 points. Like a lot of us used it, got 8 to 11 points. So think of it like a 20% EO player scoring a 10-12 pointer. Not the end of the world. So it's also quite manageable in terms of those people who are looking at a chip left, and then not many assistant managers in play. Those who have played it, there was about a couple of percent of people who played it in Game Week 36. That's done now. Like, who had to play assistant manager, maybe 2% will play it this week. So just a little bit on chips. So now it's really just open season. Like, there's no chips in, not many chips in play, no doubles, no blanks. It's really up to who we pick. So let's go through some of the slides. So there's a very nice slide that the guys from Solio Analytics did, and they obviously worked with Rob T to create the graphic and to get the market odds. But usually you're used to seeing something like this, which basically gives you the projected goals and the clean sheets for 1 week. Now that's good, especially when you're looking at a free hit. But actually what's better is now that you're looking at the run-in, it's almost like whatever transfer you make is like for a 3-week free hit, if you see what I mean, right? I mean, you want the player for those 3 weeks and only those 3 weeks because we have 3 weeks left. So I've highlighted here in the projected goals some of the players that people are looking at. So Aston Villa, people are looking at Watkins. Bournemouth, people are looking at Van Nilsson or even Kluivert in game week 38, which is the Leicester at home game. We have Brentford here. People are looking at Wissa this week. You have Isak, so that's on the left-hand side. On the right, you can see Wolves are popular, and then Crystal Palace, people are looking to sell. So let's do column by column. So game week 38, which is the first column for each of these teams. Sorry, game week 36, which is the week we're in, which basically marries up with this chart, essentially tells you that, well, close to marries up because market odds keep changing, is telling you that Man City are the team to target if you want, if you want that upside. Of course, strikers score different points to midfielders, but there is certain Mr. Haaland who's, today Pep has said that he could be fit. He could be fit to start. He didn't confirm, but he said he's ready, right? So now doesn't mean that he will start. But there will be a little bit of panic. There'll be a little bit of FOMO in the community, as you will see people sharing their screenshots on how they can get to Haaland. I mean, that's all cool. Like I personally don't have a lot of FOMO on Haaland. Of course, I would like to have him if I could get him for free, but to get him for a hit, which I will need, and then also to then wait, because, if he starts this game, you think he starts the FA Cup final. Will he start game week 37? Will they manage his minutes? People will say, look, when Haaland is fit, he starts. That's fair enough. But you're also talking about breaking your team to get him, and in many cases selling Salah to get him. So if you're completely like, now I'm talking to the chasers, you want to do it. But for people like me, I'm not interested in taking a hit to sell a Salah who's chasing records for a Haaland we still don't know who's 100% fit, if he will start. If he starts, does he play 60 minutes or 70 minutes or 90 minutes? If he plays 90 minutes, will he play again in game week 37? So many question marks. I'm not going to do it. So that's where I am. Now, if there is a leak closer to the time where players I own don't start. So let's say De Bruyne doesn't start. So then I can look at De Bruyne out to somebody else, let's say a Kevin Schade and a Mateta to Haaland. So if I'm able to do that, that's something that's doable, because now I'm taking a hit to also take out a player who's not playing Southampton to bring in a player who's playing Southampton. But I'm expecting De Bruyne and Mamouche to start. And if it's Mamouche who misses out, then again, I'm not interested in Haaland as much, because De Bruyne is my upside. I'll just then move Mamouche out to a striker that I will talk about later in the video. So that's my view on Man City, and they're interesting because this week they're very high in clean sheet in their projected goals. But if you look at Bournemouth at home, which is game week, the middle column, the most interesting team actually with the highest expected goals is Aston Villa, 2.4, and even more so because these market odds were actually made before the games last night. And last night, obviously, we know that Spurs and Man United are now through to the final of the Europa League. So there is a big gap. We talked about it in the main pod, but the fact of the matter is these players will not be pushing. And Villa, they're actually in a very nice position because they play Spurs, who will be preparing for the Europa League. And then after the Europa League game, which is on a Wednesday, the Sunday, they play Man United. So in the event Man United win, even more so, like, they will not care about that game. Like, maybe if they lose, that they'll want to give a good performance at home, so they'll put out a strong team. So, but you could get very lucky with Watkins and basically get 2 big games out of them where they score 3-4 goals. So this is why Aston Villa is very interesting as an entry point. And as you can see in game week 37, there will be the highest expected goals out of all players. Chelsea will be interesting as well. Again, their opponents are Man United. So it's important to remember that both Villa and Chelsea play 6 days before or 5 days before their European when Man United and Spurs play their final. So I expect good teams. It's not like they will be, children who'll be playing those games. But still, I think Chelsea, Villa with all the motivation versus Spurs and Man United with no motivation in the league should be good matchups, and that's what the market odds also reflect. Then come to Gameweek 38, and the teams that will be there to target are Bournemouth, so 2.7 expected goals. You have Arsenal 2.4 and Liverpool 2.6. This is what tells me that there's a temptation to take out Salah this week. Guess who Salah plays in Gameweek 38? Home to Crystal Palace, chasing the record for goals and assists. He definitely starts that game. So, with all the FOMO, you sell Salah this week, you get Haaland. Haaland plays 60, 70 minutes. Yes, he could do very well, but there's also a scenario where, he disappoints or gets a goal and Salah still does all right. And then after this week, you're like, man, I wish I had Salah. So just a view on Liverpool. Like, I'm hesitant to sell Salah. I'm reading all the things. I'm reading the things that you're reading from Slot's press conference, that these guys were in holiday. I see Gakpo partying in Milan. So these guys have been, of course, their foot is off the gas, but who knows, right? I mean, especially the games, Brighton away, Crystal Palace at home, those could have a lot of goals. So that's where I would be in terms of my picks. So coming back to this week, because this week is a big talking point in terms of who do we target. So actually, just let me finish on clean sheets as well, because clean sheets, people are also looking at defender transfers. Like, I'm not interested in any defender transfers, because the team that I have most FOMO of this week is Nottingham Forest, which you see I have put a red box around. 46% clean sheet odds. Amazing. Like, even higher than Man City this week, who plays Southampton. So despite all the narrative of Nottingham Forest's defensive form going down, home to Leicester, they are going to probably keep a clean sheet, and they should score a couple of goals. So Chris Wood, people looking at Chris Wood this week, people looking at Nottingham Forest defenders, amazing. Do that. But just remember one thing. After this week, you don't really want your Nottingham Forest player. Like, look at the clean sheet odds next week when Nottingham Forest play away to West Ham, 28%, compared to even a Konza, who plays Spurs at home, 31%. So what I'm thinking is, if I don't succumb to this temptation of a Nottingham Forest defender, I can easily just put out Livramento this week. So I take the hit this week. Livramento versus a Nottingham Forest defender is like loss of 24% clean sheet odds. But next week, I can easily bench Livramento, play Konza, and I can play my Arsenal defender after this week. Kivior is 31%. Game week 38, I can play my Arsenal defender. Kivior is 44%. And again, Livramento is 42% clean sheet odds against Everton. Of course, Guardiola plays all the week. So this is why I'm not as tempted, and I would really urge you to think that, people are looking at a Nottingham Forest defender. Do you really need to do that move? Like, how many weeks are you actually going to play that defender? If the answer is only this week, then it's probably not worth it. So let's come to strikers, because a lot of people are talking about strikers on who to buy this week. So here's my view. If I look at the expected goals this week, Nottingham Forest are the highest, so 2.3. Really nice. But Brentford are not too far, which is 2.2. And then if you look in forward weeks, Nottingham Forest 1.4, 1.3, Brentford 1.8, 1.5. So every single week after that, Brentford are, more likely to score a goal. Brentford are arguably more free-flowing. The attacking data for Wissa is a lot better. So if you're looking this week, and the question is between Wissa and Chris Wood, I think the appeal for Chris Wood is simply that, are you going to captain him? Like, are you going to take the crowd? And if you look at the projected odds for the goal scorers after Haaland and Marmoush, it's basically Chris Wood, and then there's a big gap. So people who are looking at, let's say Haaland is not starting and there's no big rush to get Haaland, people will look to captain Mbumo, will captain KDB. If you want to really go different and you want to get your upside this week, then Chris Wood is your guy. Don't just get him, captain him. But if you're not really feeling it, if you're not feeling captaincy, then I think Wissa is the better pick, because Wissa is good for the 3 weeks. You just play them. Wood, you may need to think about, should I ship him out? Is he going to be a transfer in? And then in game week 38, I take him out to Evanilson. If you have so many free transfers, cool, man. Like, you can do that. But if you're looking at a 3-week horizon, I like Wissa over Wood. So then there's also a question of Cunha. I just think with Cunha, the appeal, the upside is there. I love Cunha. People who follow my content know how much I love Cunha through the season, owning him. I just worry about the minutes a little bit. Like, today in the press conference, we've heard Strand Larsen is back. So now Bellegarde is back. Strand Larsen is back. Cunha should play. Like my prediction is he plays all the 3 games and he does well. But it's a should. It's not a will. And that's the difference between will Wissa play all the games? Yes. But then Cunha's on set pieces, Cunha's on penalties. Wolves' expected goals are not that good. So, they do have 2 home games, home to Brighton, home to Brentford. You can decide how attacking those games will be. The markets are not giving them that much. Like, they think Brentford are easily will score more goals this week than Wolves. They think Brentford will score more goals than Wolves in the next game week when they play Fulham at home versus them playing Crystal Palace away. It's up to you. Like, I'm not feeling it in terms of minutes more than just the goals or expected goals, because you can argue Cunha gets more bonus anyway, so goal share doesn't matter. Up to you. I think the chasers can look at Cunha. I raised that in the pod as well. And I think, therefore, my view is if you're buying a striker this week, the sensible choice is Wissa. The maverick choice is Cunha. And the real punty choice is Wood captain this week. So that's where I stand on that. I think there is another important point. Who are you selling? Right? So if you now look at Crystal Palace's goal odds, it's 1.7. It's not too bad. 1.7 is actually the same as Bournemouth this week. It's actually more than Villa. So one of the moves like I was considering is maybe I should just hold Mateta a week and then next week sell Mateta to Ollie Watkins, who I talked about, who has great potential in 37 and 38. That's a move. So in terms of my pecking order of moves, I'm thinking I could do Mateta to Wissa this week because it's a great fixture for Wissa and then good for the foreseeable. And then Mateta is a sell soon anyway. Like, I definitely don't want Mateta after the FA Cup game in the Wolves game, and I definitely don't want him away to Liverpool. So if he's a sell anyway, might as well sell this week. That's the thinking. But if you can hold him, if you think that Spurs are tired from the away leg of the Europa League, keep Mateta this week. My next favorite move is actually to do Mateta to our friend Ollie Watkins next week. So those are just the 2 things that I'd be thinking about as I look at market data and as I look at the general field of play. So anything else that stands out? I think I've talked about Man City, Nottingham Forest, Brentford. Newcastle are not bad, right? I mean, I'm seeing people sell Isak. Yes, Isak is away to Arsenal. I even have the luxury to bench Isak away to Arsenal if I wanted to, even though I think Isak has good potential next week. Like, I think there's enough there in my attackers next week, especially if I get Wissa, that I could play De Bruyne for his final home game. I could play Salah. I could play Mbumo. I could play Wissa. I could play Marmoush if he's still looking good, especially if he misses out on the FA Cup because of Haaland playing or whatever. Or Marmoush just keeps playing anyway. I could play Ismail Assar home to Wolves because his minutes have actually been pretty good. So I don't actually need to play Isak as such. I could just play him in the 2 home games, which is home to Chelsea and home to Everton, which sounds all right. So I'll happily keep him, and then I don't look at any odds involving Man United because they will not be putting out. Amarim actually was asked today on, are you just not going to play Bruno now for the rest of the week? Literally, he was asked that question, him and Maguire. And he said, look, Bruno, I'm not going to play the players who are injury prone because I don't want injuries, but otherwise people do need rhythm. So like somebody like Bruno should probably keep playing. Somebody like I would expect, a Garnacho or a Højlund should continue to get like 50, 60 minutes per game. So Mount could get starts, Ahmad could get a start. So Man United will not be that weak. So people who have a benching dilemma between Bowen and, Sarr, it's not that easy. Last week was different because it was in between the 2 legs. And so the actual kids played, like, Obi Martin played, like I had predicted. And Amas played. I don't think that will be the case every week now. It might be the case for minutes or early subs, but that's enough about Man United. So I think that's all I have to say in terms of the market data. That's been quite hopefully comprehensive. That's 20 minutes I've gone through this. So again, thank you to Rob T and to Solio Analytics for providing this information, especially this 3-week thing. We'll see if we can do this on a rolling basis next season. Let's come to my team. So, first decision between Raya and Areola. Very clear, I'll be playing Raya. I just think Arsenal defense, I want to have exposure to one Arsenal defense because a lot of my field, a lot of top 10K has over 100% EO Arsenal defense. Now, maybe they're selling this week, but I'm happy to play Raya because I don't anyway think Areola away to Man United keeps clean sheets. In fact, clean sheet odds suggest that Raya has slightly better odds than West Ham anyway. So, and hopefully he gets some saves, in this fixture, there is actually a potential for Raya to get your 12-pointer because he may get saves and he could keep a clean sheet. You never know. Like all these arguments of Liverpool being on the beach or on holidays, maybe it works out. So Raya's a given. I think the defense picks itself because I don't want to double up. So Kiwior's on the bench. Between Konza, Bournemouth away, and Livermento, Chelsea at home, I go for Livermento, Chelsea at home. Munoz and Guardiola don't need to be discussed. Good picks. Then I've got in midfield Bumo, De Bruyne, Salah, and Sar. I'm happy to start all four of them this week as long as they're rumored to start. If there's any leaks on De Bruyne, we'll see what to do. But I fully expect him to start. And then Isak, Marmoush, Mateta. So the team actually looks fine. I could roll. Like if I was sitting in Gameweek 23, I would roll this team. Because I'm sitting in Gameweek 36, I'm tempted to do stuff because I know that there's not a lot of time to make your impact on transfers. A perfect example, like I said, if I was to sell Mateta next week because I don't think he starts the Wolves game after the FA Cup, might as well sell him this week so that I can get the Ipswich game out of Wissa. That's the temptation that I have, and that would be the only reason why I do Mateta to Wissa, which is my favored move at the moment. I have not done anything. Like I said, I won't do anything until an hour before deadline tomorrow. And the idea would be that between Mateta and Marmoush, if Marmoush is starting, then Mateta goes for Wissa. If Marmoush is not starting, or if he's not leagued to start, or I don't hear anything, or if he's on the bench, leagued to be on the bench, I will do Marmoush to Wissa. So that's the thinking, and then I keep Mateta a week. Other than that, I don't have a planned transfer as such, but the 4 red boxes that you see are basically the players that I can foresee leaving my team between now and Gameweek 38. And there's various reasons for this. So who am I looking to replace them with? So I've talked about Wissa. I've talked about Watkins. So if I do the Wissa move this week, then next week, if I'm feeling Watkins, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll keep Marmoush, right? So it'll be a case-to-case basis. So let's say one path is Mateta to Wissa, and then next week, Marmoush to Watkins is an option. Or if I think Marmoush is fine, home to Bournemouth, then I keep him, and then Marmoush becomes Evanilson. So that's what I will do with the 2 attacking slots. One will become Wissa, and one will become either Watkins or Evanilson. Those are the 3 strikers I like, but in that order, right? Because Wissa, if I was to buy this week, it's Wissa. If I was to buy next week, it's Watkins. And if I was to buy in Gameweek 38, it's Evanilson. Then let's come to midfield. I actually like these guys for the next 2 weeks. I don't need to touch them. But in the Gameweek 38, the third week, I could sell both of these guys, De Bruyne and Sar, because the 2 guys I like the most in Gameweek 38 are Saka, who's playing Southampton, and Kluivert, potentially, who's playing Leicester. Now, I don't have 4 transfers to take care of them, so I could equally just do 3 of these and bench Sar, for example, in Gameweek 38, or I could bench Marmoush in Gameweek 38. But that's what I'm trying to say, that this is where my moves will be concentrated, and if I can help it, I will not be touching the rest of the team. Tomorrow, if I hear Haaland is starting and De Bruyne is not starting, then that gives me a dilemma. It could even be something like, De Bruyne to Bowen and Isak to Haaland. I could even do that. It could be De Bruyne to Sade and Mateta to Haaland. Something like that could be done. But as things stand, I want to be honest with you, I don't think I'm going to do it. I can understand people doing it, but I'm not going to do it. Taking a hit to get Haaland, who I'm not even sure if I want to captain over Mbumo, I don't feel it. If you have a triple captaincy, if you really want to chase, man, I can understand. So listen out for what Late Riser will do for things like these. For things like taking a hit before the deadline, 10 minutes before the deadline, I get nosebleeds. So that's not what you want to be listening out for. So LR has also uploaded his team selection pretty much close to this. So check that out as well. I have forgotten to do the Nord plug, and I'm very sorry about that. And I will do it in a second. So people who don't want to listen to it can tune out. I'm sorry. But if you're bored of your streaming library and you want to check out NordVPN, you can go to the FPL Wire /NordVPN, and it gives you an extra 3-month guarantee, and you can get your money back as well if you want to. So it's NordVPN. It's the FPL Wire /NordVPN. No, NordVPN/CFR. I did that terribly. Sorry is off. Okay, thank you for joining. If you liked this, please like the stream and subscribe to the channel. We've got only another 2 of these to come. I will be consistent and I will get these to you guys. And good luck to you on whatever goals you have. And I will see you next week.